Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Marco Dure Show, everyone. It is Monday, September 15th, 2025. Starting your week off right, I see, by turning into today's show. Getting all the relevant groundbreaking news, both here in the United States and around the world. The only show where the facts are facts and hard truths thrive. Please be sure to hit that like button and follow the show. Hit the notification tab and share with as many people as possible to help get the truth out. I appreciate you when you do that. It does help me out and helps the show out and helps us grow. Let's get ready now for the best hour that radio has to offer, uncensored and ready to go. I want to begin the show today by talking about the assassination of Charlie Kirk again. First, I want to say how many different cities across America have paid tributes to honor Charlie through candlelight vigils, through memorials. I saw in Huntington Beach a massive crowd of at least hundreds, if not possibly even over 1,000 people on the Huntington Beach Pier, just showing their support for Charlie and, of course, remembering his life. We saw the White House had their flags at half-mast. Liberty University had people praying outside. Several churches had moments of silence, prayers inside and out of church. NFL and MLB teams and their players alike held tributes during games. Social media was exploding, with Charlie speaking at many of these turning point events. I've probably liked about 100 of these posts so far this weekend. You know, it's amazing to see support and prayers for Charlie and his family, of course, in this time of tragedy for them. And just seeing people come together to honor this man is truly inspiring on so many levels. And it shows you that many people in America do care. That so many people care. And they've been touched by Charlie's work and his discipline to help spread truths. And just know that this movement started by Charlie isn't going anywhere. And it's only going to continue to grow exponentially. And that's my estimation on that. I'm not going to talk about the left and how they've behaved in many regards. Certainly not everybody, but people on the left, on social media alike, discussing Charlie's death in a negative way. It's absolutely irrelevant, in my opinion. These people are irrelevant. They are the exact opposite of how a decent human being should act in a time like this. You go look at MS Nobody Cares. These losers that have been fired from these networks that now, are so talentless, they try to become relevant again on social media or podcasts spewing this hatred, vile, these lies, these edited bits of Charlie, simply because they're jealous. They have no impact on changing anybody's life. There are people that read scripts, and they even have to lie then to try to become relevant. Not important to me or you. What is important, though, and Charlie, as you know, was somebody who questioned events, questioned news, positions, history, economics. He took these issues head on. And you got to admire that for him. That's why people loved him. I question everything as well. And several new facts have come to light that I want to dive into today to help get everyone to think. Now, it is Monday. It's my Monday monologue, and I want you to think about what you're being told about this. Because something is not adding up with everything that's being given to us. The information is simply not adding up, nor the evidence. Just yesterday, Governor Cox said that he's going to charge Kirk's assassin on September 16th. Now, if we have this damning evidence, if we know it's him, I'm not sure why you can't charge him right now. I don't understand why he's waiting. We're being continually told by the FBI and the news media that it's this Tyler Robinson who attended Utah Valley. He's 22. We're told that he mentioned hating Charlie in a conversation on Discord. Now, forget the two people that were arrested the day of, right away. Why did that happen, by the way? How come we're not told why these people were arrested. Why were these people so suspicious that they were arrested that day and placed in handcuffs and taken away? We're not told anything about this. Did they do something? Why do they look suspicious? Meanwhile, the real killer was getting away. At first, we're told this Robinson confessed to the murder. Now we're getting reports that contradict that. Yesterday, Spencer Cox was on ABC's This Week. He was speaking with Martha Raddatz, so this is what he had to say. Take a listen to, let's see. Let's get clip one on here.
And anything new on the investigation? You say he admitted that, confessed?
No, not again. He has not confessed to authorities. He is not cooperating. But all the people around him are cooperating. And
so what the hell does that mean? So we have no confession, but everyone is cooperating, whatever the hell that means. By the way, the grandmother has since come out saying that no one in the family is a leftist. Remember, that was the first thing they were trying to push. This is a Republican, right? Complete lie. We don't really know what he is. We have no idea. The family's saying that no one in the family is a leftist. That doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's a Republican or conservative. It could be apolitical for all I know. I don't know. But odd that he's spouting off that he hates Charlie Kirk to them if nobody is somebody that has those same sentiments. It just seems odd to me. You know, his father's a police officer, the mother's a social worker, and nobody saw their son acting odd or brazen to commit a heinous act like this. Now, the grandmother also said she's never seen him ever even hold a firearm. That's a bit interesting, I'd have to say, given what we know about what the shooter had to know in order to pull off a single shot like this. So it's very inconsistent what the traits would be of this shooter. So, I have to ask myself, what's going on here? What are we not being told? And my question now is, what are you charging him with? Can you trace the weapon found allegedly as being responsible for Charlie's death and match it to the bullet that killed him? The answer to that is no. Any search I've done right now is telling me that the bullets were engraved with this, transgender ideology, this anti-fascist ideology. Nothing about the forensic of the firearm allegedly being used. Nothing about the bullet that struck Charlie. And if that matches the gun, does Robinson even own this gun that was found? Conveniently wrapped in a towel fully assembled in the woods. Can we trace it that way? No, nothing from our FBI, our sterling FBI here. $11.3 billion budget, and this is the news after 5 days? It's unbelievable. So we're told that the suspect is supposed to have this bolt-action Mauser, which holds a .30-06 round in it. Massive round, by the way, 3 inches in length, which we saw severed an artery or arteries. You have the carotid and the subclavian on the left side of the neck there that was hit. I'm not sure if it was one artery, but it was definitely an artery that was hit. We could all agree on that. Now, anyone of value that I've listened to agrees that this shooter must have had some type of tactical training and experience in the past using this particular firearm. This isn't just someone who woke up the morning of and said, hey, I need a gun, let me go do this. This was well planned out in advance by someone with the skills to handle this rifle. That's why I asked if this was his exact rifle and his history with tactical knowledge. Do we know anything about that? They're not telling us anything about that. Now, another point of interest, whomever this shooter was that took this shot had to have staked out this location prior to that event. Now, why do I say that to you? Now, I'd have to believe that this 22-year-old theater major, built like an adolescent teenage girl, found access to the roof 2 days in a row, unscathed. No, but this is ridiculous now. How was he able to get on the roof at once, if not more? Because likely he would have to use a rangefinder. We saw that with Crooks in Butler, Pennsylvania, who was actually closer than this shooter. I think Crooks was 130 yards. This Robinson allegedly is said to have been 200 yards away. Again, which would have given him an idea of how to zero in on the scope ahead of time. So how could he have gained access to the roof unaccompanied once, possibly twice? to figure out where he needed to be in order to make this shot. Now, again, are there any cameras in the vicinity of this building that show this person of interest that they keep showing us on the screen, right? We keep seeing these two pictures in a doorway leading up to the roof or in a hallway leading up to the roof that we can actually start piecing this together. You got no confession. You got no ballistics of any sort. You have no answer of how he was able to get on the roof. Nobody saw him going on the roof where this shot was said to have come from. I just have a big problem with all this. Now they're trying to say this, though. Now they're trying to say it. Take a listen to this. This is in the, what is this, in the New York Post? Yes. Okay, it's in the New York Post. So now what they're trying to say, and this is coming straight from Kash Patel, they are saying that he had a text message exchange with another individual in which he claimed that he had an opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk. And he was going to do it because of his hatred for what Charlie stood for. This is what Patel said on Fox and Friends. So, again, where's this text message? Right? Who did he say it to? When did he say it? Now, this would give, obviously, probable cause and motive. Or it could be something just spouting off. We don't know. We have no idea. Then they go in and talk about how he's, in a relationship with a dude pretending to be a woman. Okay, whatever. I don't really give a damn about that. But here we go. Patel says, and I want to get this right. He says that damning new evidence against Robinson includes DNA recovered from a towel that covered the murder weapon when it was ditched. Okay, so that we were told that, right? They found the weapon attached in the woods, as well as a screwdriver found in the sniper's nest on a roof near Kirk's event. Okay, so let me put this into perspective. He's on the roof. He's probably up there for at least 20 minutes. That's how long into the event it was. All right. Charlie Kirk, takes his seat on the platform. And people on the ground saw him. Nobody in security saw him, though. Okay. So we see somebody prone on the roof. We never get any footage if we see a gun there. We see somebody dressed in all black. So you're telling me that the shooter took this fatal shot, disassembled the firearm, put it in his backpack, and decided to leave the screwdriver on the ground that would link him to being in that exact spot. And then he was going to leave a firearm wrapped in a towel in the woods for someone else to find. So he's going to take it apart, leave the scene, place it in the woods somewhere where it was ditched, reassemble the firearm now, which would, again, also link him to this. It doesn't make any bit of sense. If he's going to just disregard this weapon and discard it in the woods, why is he putting it back together? I don't understand. Why wouldn't he just leave with the weapon? He's going to leave it out where somebody can find it? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But it went on to say, this is Patel speaking again, I can report today that the DNA hits from the towel that wrapped around this firearm and the DNA on the screwdriver are positively processed for the suspect in custody. So he's referring to Robinson. The bolt-action hunting rifle found tossed nearby is still being tested. Okay, so again, why would you not test the firearm first? Is his DNA on the firearm? His DNA is on the towel and a screwdriver. We still need to link him to this gun, and we still need to know if this gun was the gun that was used to shoot Charlie. Now, again, it just seems odd to me that he's going to leave the screwdriver right where he's making this fatal shot, but he's going to disassemble the weapon, put it in his backpack, leave the screwdriver, as if nobody's going to go on the roof and check it, And then he's going to reattach. So again, how did he reattach the firearm afterwards if the screwdriver is on the roof? Is it necessary to, obviously I would have to imagine he was using it to take apart and assemble the firearm. So how did he put it back together and then leave it? So he's got a towel in his backpack. He's got this hunting rifle in his backpack. And he's got tools to put it together, allegedly, I'm saying. And yet nobody finds this odd, that he's leaving all this stuff in these different places. It's a bit odd to me, I'd have to say. So here's another thing. The person of interest now, right? We're saying this is the person walking through. I think he was walking through a community, and it looks like he's walking like straight-legged, as if something's in his pants. All right, and again, we're told he's walking with the gun assembled in his pants, a hunting rifle in his pants. Okay. He put a hunting rifle in his pants and nobody noticed this walking by him? There's 3,000 people in the area coming on the campus. There's got to be people in the halls. Someone's walking like this and you don't think that's going to draw attention? Nobody saw this? I mean, he's walking like he crapped himself throughout this entire time with the outline of a rifle in his pants. No one saw him going up on the roof. Nobody knows how he had access to the roof. But here's my other question. If you have students on that campus that can see a man prone on the roof just prior to the shooting like this, just like in Butler, by the way, everyone's saying, hey, there's somebody on the roof. How is it that the hired security, or even the campus security, couldn't see this as well? Why was nobody scanning this roof? No one is looking at the campus security cameras? And let me ask you this. Where was the campus security as well? Now, I'm not saying they're going to be in the halls 24/7, but somebody's perched up on a roof for possibly 20 minutes at least, and you don't have anyone looking at cameras on campus that would see something odd like that? Again, it's a bit strange to me. Just saying. Let's consider the ending of this now. All right. They have this shot taking place. People are fleeing the campus. There's a person of interest on the roof. We didn't know originally that's where the shot came from. This person's in all black or mostly black on the cameras that we see where he's dismounting off the roof. Incorrectly, by the way. Plus, it looks like he would have probably injured himself as well a little bit, the way he landed, because he didn't land properly. Something that a hunter or anyone with technical training would probably know how to do, I would have to say. But the person of interest on camera isn't in all black, which again is another big inconsistency with all this. So did he change his clothes? Did he change out of clothes? Where are these change of clothes now? It just begs the question. We don't know. The shooter is not holding the gun when he dismounts, and we really never even see this person on the roof with a gun. So that leads me to believe that the shooter disassembled the firearm on the roof, and now allegedly left a screwdriver behind, I guess, for police to come up and find, which would have taken several minutes to do properly, by the way. So he's got to have a screwdriver to, I guess, assemble it, right? Then he goes through a neighborhood, I guess near a wooded area, near a house, reassembles it somehow without the screwdriver that he needs, apparently. If he does need it. I'm just saying, why would he bring a screwdriver unless he needs it? And leaves it in a towel with his DNA all over it for authorities later to find? And who found the gun? Why would the killer evade authorities, right? He gets off campus and he thinks, hey, you know what would be great right now? If I left this towel for somebody else to find and trace this weapon back to me. And again, do we even know if Robinson is a legal gun owner? Because if he's not, that means somebody gave him the firearm or he obtained it illegally. We're not told anything about this. Again, I worry that why would you not go to the ballistics of the firearm first? Why wouldn't that be your first? That's your main motivation. The firearm tells us everything. Does the bullet that struck Charlie, does it match the gun that has his DNA on it? Can ballistics prove that this gun was fired? Then it would be a, open and shut case. Now, there's talk of Robinson using this Discord app, which is just this social media app, too, to communicate with, friends, influencers. I think a lot of gamers use it. So he's said to have discussed the shooting with this roommate of his. Okay, right? The roommate that, is a trans, apparently. That he needed to have a drop point with the gun wrapped in a towel. And also the engravings of the bullet was mentioned in this conversation as well, which I guess he left behind for police to find. That's another thing. He leaves behind the bullet casings. Why would he do that? I guess he was trying to leave a perfect blueprint for the police, right? Maybe his father, could have been on the case, found it, been a big hero. Who knows? Logically, none of this makes any sense at this point. I don't understand what was said in this letter or why it needed to be written out like this. I mean, did he write a note to somebody just to say he's going to hurt somebody? But why would he need to write all this out, what he's going to do, and then hand it to his roommate, unless the roommate is involved in this in some way? That's what I would have to say. Why would you do that? It's odd. And again, that begs the question, does the roommate know ahead of time? The roommate could have obviously called the authorities. So again, you have a backpack that has already, concealed this weapon. Why would you feel the need to take it out and leave it behind? Now they're saying he wasn't on Discord. It was actually a handwritten note that he left to the roommate or wrote to the roommate. And now we come to find out that the handwritten note has been destroyed. That's amazing. The handwritten note has been destroyed by somebody. But they're saying we have forensic evidence that it existed. What the hell does that mean? Would you have a picture of it somewhere? I mean, this doesn't make any bit of sense to me. So now we can't even match the handwriting on the note to Robinson's handwriting, can we? Again, that would be damning information. And again, who destroyed the note that allegedly exists? Do we even know if it existed? And if it is true that he wrote this note to the roommate, is he now an accessory to this murder? He's telling his roommate he's going to go out and kill Charlie Kirk, hide the evidence, and he doesn't think to call the police? That's pretty damning evidence. Wouldn't it be, my friends? I'd have to say so. This is where we are in this case, 5 days out. We have no real progress, and something is still rotting in Denmark with this to me. Nothing adds up to me. They can locate a grandmother by the back of her head inside the Capitol on January 6th. Find her no problem. Give her a nice 6 a.m. wake-up call with guns drawn. But we can't trace the gun in their possession to the alleged suspect? We're not told anything about the bullet that killed Charlie. Is that the bullet that could have been shot from that gun? And was that gun shot recently? Are there ballistics that show that the suspect shot that firearm? We have tests for all this. All we have is DNA and a screwdriver and a towel right now, allegedly. That links to the suspect at hand right now. We need true justice for Charlie, folks. And whomever did this, they need to be charged. They need to be tried. They need to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. And I just can't buy this narrative as it's being presented to us. It doesn't make any bit of sense to me. We need definitive evidence, not hearsay. Not anti-fascist engravings on and bullet casings. But evidence that is substantiated, that ties the killer to the location, to the weapon, and the weapon to the bullet, and that bullet to Charlie, of course, and what we saw tragically happen to him on September 10th. I mean, what more am I going to say about this? Believe everything you hear? We're given nothing of value here that links this kid to the shooting. The whole thing just it doesn't sit right with me. You have a brilliant young man, Charlie Kirk, a great communicator, by the way. We were blessed to have him in this conservative MAGA movement. His whole life in front of him. He's gunned down by some low-life scum for what? Because he's a conservative that can articulate real American values and makes you look like a fool when he presents them? Because he's got the conviction of God in him? Because he walks with purpose? What, that he's a family man who loves his family? And what do these people do with their lives? Nothing. They do nothing. I just can't believe it. Shot right in front of his wife and children, in front of 3,000 people on an American college campus because they didn't like the exchange of words that he used? This dialogue, this freedom of speech that they hate so much? Did he say something that you don't like? Did he evolve into a position that threatens you? You know, I'll never understand this. You can't make this stuff up, and it just makes me sick to my stomach just talking about it. No, Charlie isn't gone, though, folks. His soul, his influence is going to live on forever in American politics. Mark my words, write that down. Charlie's legacy and his beliefs will influence all minds that care about the truth for generations to come, so long as America is a nation. I have no doubt about that. He had 2.7 million followers on Instagram before his death. Yesterday evening when I checked, there was 12 million people following him now. You have 32,000 new chapter requests for Turning Point USA on college campuses. It's just begun, folks. And I just wish that Charlie could have seen this play out. You know, influence is such a powerful thing because you have no idea where your particular influence on somebody's life ends. And that's what makes it so important. You know, my friends, my great loyal listeners, all of you listening, great men like Charlie never die. That great energy just moves on to someplace better. And that's all I have to say on that today. So please, if you're religious or you're spiritual, please pray or have some at least positive thoughts for Charlie and his wife and children, his parents, his family, his friends. And again, we need to spread this positive energy and thoughts in the dark days like this. We need to make sure we catch whomever did this. And again, we need to know definitively who did this, not the junk that we're being told right now. All right, folks, let's move on to another topic here. I want to move on to this. This was in the Associated Mess, and this was on September 10th, actually. And I kind of touched base with this just a couple days ago as well, but I want to re-enter this because, again, it's very important. This happened the day that Charlie was killed. And, of course, nobody's paying any bit of attention to it right now, except for a couple people in the alternative news media. And it says that the Senate Republicans defeat Democrats' effort to force the release of Epstein files. Yeah. Now, in this close vote, the Senate Republicans defeated this effort last Wednesday by Democrats to insert language into Congress, this annual defense authorization bill that would have forced the public release of case files on the sex trafficking investigation into it's saying here, the late Jeffrey Epstein. I don't think he's dead. But they did this in this 51-49 vote. There were only two Republicans that did not go with the majority here. That would be Senators Josh Hawley and Rand Paul, joining with the Democrats in opposition to this. Now, for months, Democrats have been clamoring for the release of what's been known as the Epstein files, looking for practically every opportunity to force Republicans to either join their push for the disclosure or publicly oppose a cause that many Republicans in the base support. And President Trump now has signaled that he was running for president, that he was open to releasing, a full accounting of this, but now he's calling it a Democratic hoax. So something's odd here. I think all of you can agree on this. Something is a bit odd here. If you have a serial sex trafficker who's been arrested for these crimes, his girlfriend's been arrested for these crimes, whom are you trying to protect? Who are you trying to cover for here? Why are you all of a sudden telling us that it's a hoax? Now, I can point to you several accounts where women are being paid off by both J.P. Chase and Deutsche Bank. Why would the banks be paying out money to these alleged victims if there's no crimes being committed here? And let me just say one more thing about these lying Democrats, by the way. Jeffrey Epstein allegedly died in 2019. All this information was still found and collected by various courts and prosecutors. So the Democrats sat on this for all 4 years of the Biden administration, did nothing with it, didn't care, didn't say one damn word about it. Then President Trump is running again for re-election. He says he's going to release these files. We applauded that. We want to get to the bottom of this. We want to know about this. We want to know if there's anything tying any elected officials, certainly, or perhaps any big donor class, with crimes against minors. I think we championed this. We wanted the transparency, right? We're told this is going to be the most transparent administration in the world. Okay. We all bought that. We welcomed it. We wanted it. We want people to be held accountable. And then nothing happens. We're told Epstein did kill himself. There's nothing there. There's never been a client list, even though Mamdani has said so. And we're told that nothing to see here. Then we're told we're going to release everything in phases, right? Everything's going to come out in a phase. Phase 1, everything's redacted. Phase 2, it's a hoax. Phase 3, we're just not going to talk about it anymore. Now we'll get the Democrats to jump on board and act like they give a damn about children, which they don't. This case is a massive, massive mess. And again, I don't know why Republicans are trying so hard to make sure that nobody figures out what's in these case files. Doesn't make any bit of sense to me why this would happen. I don't know who they're trying to protect, but certainly somebody is being protected here. And I'll just say this. When this whole thing was coming to, you know who came to visit Donald Trump that exact day? It was a Monday. Maybe some of you will remember this. It was Benjamin Netanyahu. Interesting. So if Epstein is running this blackmail scheme, right? Are any of the people, can we link that to foreign governments as well? It's a question I think that's reasonable to ask. And yet we're told, again, nothing about this. Netanyahu shows up. We're not told of what happened in the meeting. Then we're told to forget about it. Just forget about it. Wait, you're still talking about, remember that? Are you still talking about that pervert Jeffrey Epstein? I can't believe it. Of course we're talking about it. Why would we be talking about it? We're told we're going to get all this evidence. You have all those conservative influencers holding these stupid binders with nothing in it. And then we're told, don't worry, phase 2 will happen. What do you mean phase 2? Release the damn files. We want to know what happened exactly. There were said to be thousands of women that went to that island. There's only a couple hundred right now, I think, that have come forward on this. Why was there a temple on Epstein Island? Why was there a operating table or chair in one of his showers? I mean, these things need to be answered. These things definitely need to be answered. And then they go through that Virginia Giuffre case. People are saying that she was lying about it, then she commits suicide when she's in Russia, even though she said that she was not suicidal. But they show a picture of her. They say, see, she was, in her late teens. She wasn't actually a minor. But the question begs, why does she know? I think it was Prince Andrew, if I'm not mistaken. I forget who's in the royal family. I really don't give a damn about any of them. I think it was Prince Andrew, if I'm not mistaken. Forgive me if I'm wrong. So the question is, why was she with him in the first place? Why does she know him? Why does a random woman know him? Why are they taking pictures together? I mean, it's just odd. We know how these socialites work. Very, very odd to me. And I think we need to have those questions answered as well. So while you were preoccupied with, obviously, what happened with Charlie, and I don't blame anybody for that, this is what Congress is doing that day. They were denying the right for you to see what exactly is going on in this Epstein case. And we're still not given any information about it. Very, very troubling to me and awful to see this. By the way, President Trump wants to withhold federal funds from New York after Hochul's shocking Mamdani endorsement. I don't know if that would hurt him or help him. I really don't know. But President Trump threatened early on Monday to go out and basically withhold these funds from the state of New York after Kathy Hochul's shocking endorsement of the he's a communist, by the way, folks. Stop calling him a socialist. He's a communist. Everything he does is communistic. And it looks like he's going to become the new mayor of the Big Apple. I might have to call it the Big Orange after that, because it's just going to be so ridiculous what happens to that city. Kathy Hochul's endorsement, as it says here. Yep, I can't believe it. I mean, it's just so asinine how these people are falling for this stupidity. And it's only going to continue to cripple the city. It's going to become more lawlessness. People are going to be leaving the city that have money, that have a lot of money, primarily. But it's funny, too. You're seeing lots of big money out of states like my previous home state, California, pushing in money. You see a lot of these big billionaires push this money into New York City in this mayoral race for Mamdani. It's amazing. But here's what Hochul said. She said, in the past few months, I've had frank conversations with him. We've had our disagreements. Can you imagine her trying to have an intellectual conversation about anything? Economics, history, politics. But in our conversations, I heard a leader who shares my commitment to a New York where children can grow up safe in their neighborhoods and where opportunity is within reach for every family. Oh. I heard a leader who is focused on making New York City affordable, a goal I enthusiastically support. My God, he's going to freeze rent? You think it's going to make things more affordable later on? I think we've seen this before, haven't we, folks? I talked to you about this. Nixon tried to do this in 1970, by the way. He tried to freeze prices. And I think it was pharmaceuticals, if I'm not mistaken. And what happened right after he released those freezes? Those prices skyrocketed. They didn't work. Just didn't work. You can't just freeze rent or mortgages because one transaction is simply not happening. People who own a building can't just rely on receiving no money. If they're renting it out or if a bank is loaning money to somebody and they're simply not getting paid, that's also bad. So the whole thing is really stupid. This is not going to be good. People are not going to build in New York, which probably is the one thing that should happen. And you're going to see that play out. You're going to see rents rise. You're going to see the prices of food rise. And again, you're going to see the biggest taxpayers in the city begin to leave. They're going to head for the Hamptons. They're going to head for Florida. They're going to head for somewhere else. They're not going to stay and do all that. And again, the only way he can implement these programs of his, these communistic programs, is if he raises taxes. That's not something that is enthusiastic among the uber wealthy. By the way, just thought I'd share that with you. So we're going to see that play out too in New York. Again, why are 4 people running in this race? We need one person to run against him. I don't care who it is. It just can't be all 3 of them. Because he's only got about 40, 42, 43% of, I think, the vote right now, roughly. So you have so much more to work with, and you're going to keep cutting that vote into 3 now. And that's going to give him the race, sadly enough, because we have people that are stupid. People that don't give a damn about the city. They care more about running for the race and their own political power. That's what they want. So again, you see this happening. You would think the 3 of them would sit down and say, listen, who's got the best chance of beating this clown? Because we can't let New York City become a communist cesspool. Now, the last winner was Eric Adams. He's not been well liked in the press. Cuomo, also not very well liked in the press, typically based on how he governed. And, of course, he had to resign from office. That doesn't look good. And then you got Curtis Sliwa, who's a great candidate, by the way. I think he's fantastic. But can a Republican win in New York City? Is that the realization that a Republican can win that a citywide race like that? To me, I think that would be very difficult. That's just my estimation. I don't know. But the last time Sliwa ran, he only received about, I think, maybe 28% of the vote. Didn't win very much. So again, if Sliwa can get his group behind another candidate, you might be able to pull that off. And it probably looks like Cuomo would be the second biggest vote getter besides Mamdani. But you are going to see some drastic changes in the Big Apple if this clown should win it. It'll be lawless. It'll be overpriced. It'll be too expensive to live. The schools will continue to suck. He's very anti-charter school, by the way. And you're probably going to go starve to death because you're going to have city-run grocery stores, by the way. Have fun with that, New York. It's crazy to me. Absolutely crazy to me. All right. Let's talk about the Supreme Court, folks. The Supreme Court is back, ready to go. And they're going to be adjudicating on many of these Trump cases right now. So some of the cases they're going to be looking at, this is in the Epoch Times, by the way, if you want to take a look at that article today. The Epoch Times, what are we talking about here? Well, we're talking about this litigation related to the Trump administration and, of course, many of the policies that he's been implementing as of late. And the Supreme Court will likely have to, again, adjudicate on this executive branch power in their upcoming term that they're just beginning to start. So the first issue I think that's going to be discussed here, I think it's going to be the tariffs. The ability to impose tariff as a power, typically understood as reserved for Congress under the Constitution. Now, it's unclear, though, whether Congress effectively delegated that power to the president in a law known as the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Now, I would have to argue with you that the Congress holds the purse strings, right? They control how the money is spent. Otherwise, we don't even need a Congress if we could just allocate all these powers over to the president, right? Now, there's been several appeals courts in August that said Congress didn't delegate that power, but obviously it's been delayed until August, so that hasn't been ruled on yet. The eventual decision could have a major economic consequences, clearly, altering the balance of trade and, of course, revenue flows into the United States. Now, in August, the United States reported a record $31 billion in revenue under tariffs that the Trump administration implemented. So let's stop and think about this. Congress is supposed to pass any type of tax. A tariff is a tax. It's a tax on imports and exports. So if Trump wanted to implement a tariff program, he wants to do this, he's got to go to Congress, and he's got to get that passed through Congress. Then he could sign that into law. He could do it that way. And he's got a Republican majority, so it wouldn't be terribly difficult to do. He's also got a majority in the Senate. So he can implement these programs. He's just simply doing it all on his own, which, again, to me, is unconstitutional. Whether you agree with it or not, this is the method, because this is what the Constitution tells us to do. So if Congress did not delegate this power, he's probably going to lose this pretty easily. It should be a 9-0 slam dunk for that. And again, if he wants to implement this, he's got to go through the proper channels in Congress. But they set this. So Trump can't wake up one morning and say, you know what, China's getting 150% tariff on all imports. First of all, that's going to ruin the economy. But nonetheless, that's the proper channel of which he has to go through. So he can't wake up one morning and say, you know what, I'm going to do this. And I think we'll see changes in terms of pricing. You will see more stability and more balance in the economy because people will understand the laws that are going to be signed into law. So they know, for example, if all EU nations are going to have a 15% tariff, they're going to know that ahead of time. There'll be more stability. People won't be as reluctant to invest in the market. And that would probably be a much better thing than what we're seeing right now because people don't know. Trump could wake up tomorrow morning and say, hey, I want to put a 50% increase on all imports coming in from China, India, Russia, all the BRICS nations, anyone working with BRICS, we're going to, and that changes things. That changes things a lot. So this obviously needs to be one of the first things I think they will go over. And again, if Trump wants these tariffs, he's going to have to go through the proper channels in Congress, where there is a debate, where people can contact their legislators. And they will hash out, they'll hear from people, hear from economists, hear from people that work in these business sectors and how it will affect them. Because these tariffs aren't good for everybody. And by the way, one last thing, I've said this to you many times in the past. I'll say it again so people understand this. Tariffs are taxes. So if Donald Trump puts a 20% tariff on countries in the EU, you are paying that extra 20% difference now. So if you had something you were buying and it's $1, now it's going to be $1.20. Now the company could say, okay, we'll eat up this 20%, the 20 cents. But they're not going to do it for very long. They'll try to keep the prices low, but they're going to have to increase eventually. Otherwise, they're not going to be making any profits. And if you're not making any profits, you're going to go out of business. So the tariff tax, right, when we say, hey, we've gotten so many billions of dollars in the Treasury now. Now, yeah, that money's paid up front, right? But somebody's got to pay that. And it's got to fall on the consumer. That'd be you. So congratulations, you're paying more for the same damn goods. You don't have to. It's just another hidden tax. You're paying for it. That's the way it works. All right, moving on. Immigration. All right, so they're probably going to, again, listen to these immigration cases. The 14th Amendment has been interpreted in recent decades to allow birthright citizenship to children born to illegal aliens. I firmly disagree with this. I think Trump is absolutely right on this, and especially to focus on this as we tackle the immigration problem we have in this nation. The article goes on to say, however, a ruling on the preliminary issue of nationwide injunctions, the Supreme Court could reconsider that interpretation and one of its 19th century precedents. Okay. The Trump administration's eventual appeal will likely force the Supreme Court to confront competing interpretations of the 14th Amendment. I've discussed this with you before, and I think Trump is absolutely right on this, by the way. I got to tell you. The wording of the 14th Amendment, okay, states very, very clearly that the persons born in the United States are to a specific jurisdiction. Okay? Now, if you are someone of a foreign nation, you are of a different jurisdiction. So how could your child, if it's two illegal aliens, I'm just going to throw that out there, you're of a different jurisdiction. So it doesn't matter. That is not a naturalized born citizen. So here's what it says in Section 1. It says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So that would mean you are of the nation, right? You're here legally. Are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. So if you're born in California, your parents are legal tenders in that state, they're legal to work there, they have citizenship. That's what this refers to. You have that jurisdiction of being born in the United States. You are a U.S. citizen because of your parent status. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction, there's that word again, the equal protection of the laws. So this is a big thing right here. We are specifically talking about U.S. citizens living in the United States. They are here legally. And again, that legalization allows you to become a natural-born citizen. Now, the rules for president are a little bit different. In order to be a natural-born citizen, one of your parents has to have already been born in the United States. I think it used to be 2, but now it's 1. I don't know why that changed, but that's the rule of this. So, understand that. Trump is absolutely right on this because it specifically says those words, and subject to the jurisdiction of. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to this jurisdiction. That means within the borders of the United States. I know we like to melt down our southern border, even our northern border, but we have a border. And if your parents are of legal status in those jurisdictions, you are a U.S. citizen. Not everyone's a natural-born citizen, but you are a U.S. citizen. So there you go on that. Trump is right. I can only hope, that the courts will obviously delve into that and decide that. Because you can't have somebody coming here, and we've seen this case in many other Western countries as well, where the mother is, 8-9 months pregnant, they have a child here, and they say, hey, look, my kid's a citizen, now I'm a citizen. I think it even happened in Canada, by the way. And they said, no, we can't do this anymore. We can't allow this to happen. So that's what we're seeing there. We simply can't have that. They'll also discuss spending. Now, in an attempt to reduce excess spending, the Trump administration has attempted to freeze or cut distribution related to gender, foreign aid, and a wide variety of other issues. And despite months of several litigation over these cuts, the court system seems far from resolving this legality. So what did he do here? It says in April, Trump allowed, the Supreme Court indicated as much in April when it allowed Trump to freeze millions of dollars worth of educational-related grants. Later reaffirmed that the position in August decision that focused on health grants. That decision, however, was limited and just as sharply disagreed over which aspects of a district's court block on the Trump administration should be removed. So what we're looking at is the way the government is spending money, particularly with these institutions. So what you're seeing is, Trump either going to court over or cutting funding to several institutions. Remember, they deemed were anti-Semitic, right? Because of the campus protests spurring up after October 7th. So they took these universities to court. Of course, now they're talking about cutting funding. They were actually suing them for money as well and getting money that way. So I believe the court will go in and look at these programs that the government is funding. Think about the USAID. I think you'll see a lot of these cases be adjudicated by them and see the legality of those issues. Foreign aid especially. Right now they're discussing giving another, I think, $700 or $800 million to Israel for their defense spending. It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. So look for these cases. They'll be coming up very, very soon. And we'll see how the Trump administration fares. I do believe they will lose the tariff case, though, and rightfully so. That power belongs to the Congress, as given to us in our Constitution. You can't argue that. The only way he could win that is if Congress did delegate that to him, which I don't really believe they did. I don't think you can declare an emergency because you have deficit spending. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Who knows? This is in Slay News, last article of the day, and I got some great clips for you on this, too. You're going to love it. I love it. You'll love it. FDA confirms COVID vaccines cause surging child deaths. This just came out yesterday. So the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, right, has now confirmed that the COVID mRNA vaccines have caused global child deaths to skyrocket. The FDA linked the injections to the deaths of American children marked a devastating blow to years of official claims that the so-called vaccines are safe and effective. Now, during a recent investigation, the FDA probed unexplained deaths of several American children. Now, I want to read this to you here. This is just some research I've done, but most of you probably don't know this because, again, it's never really stated. I'm going to list a couple different conditions here, and I want you all to understand the insanity, again, of those people that have taken these shots. These are the estimated numbers of which it affects people. Myocarditis is up 2,800%. That's inflammation of the cardiac muscle, or myocardium, part of the heart. Cancers, like turbo cancers, and again, it varies based on which type of cancer, but they're up 300 to 900%. Infertility in both sexes, so think of your gonads, the testes, the ovaries. 500% increase in infertility. And you don't think they want a smaller population? Guess again. Miscarriages, up 300% of those who took the COVID shot while pregnant. We have neurological disorders, up 1,000%. We have multiple sclerosis, up 600%. Guillain-Barré syndrome, up 500%. Pulmonary embolisms, right? That would be a clot that breaks off, usually in the leg. It travels up, and it usually gets clogged in some of the arteries that give blood to the heart. Not a good thing. Up 400%. HIV, up 500%. Fantastic. An immune system that doesn't work. 500%. And demyelinating disorders, that would be the myelin sheet, up 1,000%. So that's your neurons, which protects your neurons. And now you damage the transmission of these signals. God, folks. Vision loss, weakness, other neurological issues. Multiple sclerosis is greatly affected by this demyelinating disease. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. Guillain-Barré, another facial paralysis. We see things like that happening. It's absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. I mean, you saw people, even people that took these shots. Remember, they blink and they couldn't close their eyes? They're like, I'm trying to blink. I can't do it. Absolutely awful. Absolutely awful. I want to play some clips, and it looks like I only have about 3 minutes. So I'm going to play I had about 4 or 5 different people speaking. But I'm going to play some of the best ones for you before we leave, because you want to hear these clowns talking. Here was remember RFK Jr. met with Congress, of course, about the reasoning to make certain suggestions for childhood vaccinations, and of course the COVID recommendations. Well, the Democrats and a couple of Republicans in the Senate were not really happy with this. Particularly this one, Grandpa Bernie from Vermont, right? Wasn't really happy with it. But RFK Jr. wasn't having it at all.
I'm going to make America healthier than other countries in the world right now.
Will you guarantee do what every other major country does? It's a simple question.
And by the way, Bernie, the problem of corruption is not just in the federal agencies, it's in Congress too. Almost all the members of this panel are accepting, including yourself, are accepting millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry.
And
protecting their interests.
Oh, I thought that would come. No. I ran for president like you.
Oh, let me tell you. I ran for president. I'm a shyster. I got millions of people to donate to me, small contributions. I did very many media buys, and I put my wife in charge of it. And millions of dollars came back into my wife through her friends, through a company never, ever, anyone even heard of. And that is why I'm a multimillionaire today, but I have earned that money as I ran for president. And how dare you tell me that I took $1.5 million from pharmaceutical companies? I think that's Bernie Sanders in a nutshell, isn't it? The biggest shyster in Congress, multimillionaire. Well, he tells everyone they're paying too much for things. The same people that give him money.
I got millions and millions of contributions. They did not come from the executives, not one nickel of PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. They came from workers.
In 2020, you were the single largest
because I had
receiver of pharmaceutical money
contributions from workers all over this country. Workers,
you were the
not a nickel from corporate PACs.
You were the single largest acceptor of pharmaceutical dollars.
No, from workers in
1.5 million.
Yeah, out of 200 million. All right.
I received $200 million. I am very rich now. But let me tell you what, you're paying too much money. Doesn't get any better than that. By the way, let me play one more. Why not play the worst of the worst? Almost as bad as Bernie. Probably why she's sitting next to him. Elizabeth Warhead. Take a listen.
As Senator Dr. Cassidy said, you are effectively denying people vaccines.
We're not going to recommend a product for which there's no clinical data for that indication. Is that what I should be doing?
What you should be doing is honoring your promise that you made when you were looking to get confirmed in this job.
You're going like this.
And that is, you promised that you would not take away vaccines from anyone who wanted them. You just changed the classification of the COVID vaccine.
I'm not taking them away from people, Senator.
It takes it away if you can't get it from your pharmacist.
Well, most Americans are going to be able to get it from their pharmacy for free. Most Americans will be able to get it from their pharmacy for free.
The question is, everyone who wants it, that was your promise.
I never promised that I was going to recommend products with which there is no indication.
When you said...
And I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator.
Did you hold up a big sign saying that you were lying when you said that? Because you are the one who said you would not take them away. Now, Senator Kirk,
I'm not taking him away from anybody.
Secretary.
It's so funny. He's making recommendations. They're trying to tell him that he's taking them away from people. They are a stupid bunch, aren't they, these Democrats? They are a stupid, stupid bunch of people. I mean, you should be embarrassed for them. I think, right? Why wouldn't you be? I mean, the way that they act, the way they respond, the way they lie. You're going to take them away from people. Nobody's taking them away from anybody. If you want a COVID shot, you can get it. They've already been paid for. What they're upset about, by the way, they're upset about the recommendations being changed because then people will question their primary doctor for their children. And what's going to happen is they are going to stop taking them. And then physicians get less kickbacks, where they make $100,000, $200,000, $80,000 a year extra for their practice. Isn't that great? All right, folks, thanks for being here with me today. I know it was a long show, but I hope you gained some wisdom from it. Hope you'll share the show with some friends. Make sure you keep your house in order. Store up that food, water, ammunition, anything you need to be self-sufficient. It's very important to do right now, especially in the times we are in right now. So, folks, thanks again for being here. I'll catch you tomorrow on the next Marco Dre Show. Until then, be good, stay blessed, stay busy. Take care. God bless you.